Baseball fans, MLB winter meetings is right around the corner, so let's waste absolutely no time by deep diving our top 10 MLB free agent predictions for this offseason. And once you get towards the end of the video, we'll have an honorable mention list of guys who just missed my top 10 and my predictions as to where they will be landing as well. And please know that these rankings are not firm, so in case you're wondering, Tyler, why is this guy at 3 when he should be at 6? It's fairly loose. The whole point is that we break down the top free agents in the game right now and ultimately where they will be headed. So please let me know your thoughts, reactions in the comments down below, especially how much you agree or disagree, and ultimately, which players do you hope land with your favorite team heading into next season and beyond. For our latest breakdown here, WardyMLB presented by Stark Raving Sports. Starting here at number 10 in our video, we have Ranger Suarez, the stud southpaw over the past couple of years for the Philadelphia Phillies. Suarez has done a fantastic job staying afloat there for the Phillies, being one of the better lefties that we've seen in the game the past 3+ years, and in doing so, he is deserving of a nice payday. The Phillies, after falling short yet again in postseason play, are planning to mix things up a bit for their roster, hopefully for their sake the better, and in doing so, I do believe Ranger Suarez is not going to return to Philadelphia, and because of that reason, I believe he's going to be going to a fellow contender there in the National League, a team that could use a nice little oomph in their rotation to pair with Logan Webb, and that is going to be the Buster Posey ran San Francisco Giants. San Fran, I think, is going to be involved in many top names this offseason, and while they may not for certain land Ranger Suarez, I do believe that they're in the market for a player profile like him, a nice dominant lefty starter that can come in, at least give you 5 strong innings, if not at most, hopefully 7+ when he's really at his best. Suarez, who's obviously been reliable for the Phillies in recent years, hoping to do the same there in San Francisco. Now on to number 9, we have here Edwin Sugar Diaz, someone I know very well as a man who's been covering the New York Mets for a number of years on WardyMLB that many of you guys know by now, and Edwin Diaz has already made it clear that he would love to return the New York Mets. So barring drastic changes, I'm under the belief, like many, that Edwin is in fact going to return the Mets, but this time on a contract potentially even greater than his previous record-breaking contract of 5 years over $100 million that he signed after his huge 2022 season with the New York Mets. Diaz has been the staple as one of the best closers in all Major League Baseball, along with Aroldis Chapman, among many others, and in doing so, he's not only going to come at a pretty price, but he is a guy that the Mets simply cannot afford to lose realistically, knowing how deep those shoes would have to be to fill should he be parted with and go elsewhere. As much as the Toronto Blue Jays and the LA Dodgers would love him, I think the qualifying offer being attached, along with the Mets' urgency and adamancy to bring back their star closer, will prevail here in the pursuit of Edwin as to where he will land this offseason. Now going on to number 8, we have here Mr. Munetaka Murakami, the most coveted bat coming over from the MPB since one Shohei Ohtani all those years ago. Murakami is known for obviously his tremendous home run hitting, a man who has dominated, averaging 30+ home runs every year, had a 50+ home run season a couple years ago, is only in his mid-20s right now, which is why his value is so high. So even though Murakami can't hit fastballs 93 miles per hour higher to save his life, he has a career 180 batting average in that regard, and there's a huge adjustment that's to be expected with him at the major league level. The ceiling is through the roof with someone of his talent and of his stature. You look at that power lefty swing, someone who's going to profile best as a DH more than a third base and first base option, given his lack of defensive ability at this point in time of us talking. For all those reasons, Murakami is going to have a lot of suitors, but as we know, it's usually more of a limited market with some of these Japanese players coming over from the Pro Baseball League, and I do believe the LA Dodgers are destined to land their man. And even though Max Muncy did in fact just sign that 1-year contract for the next season for the Dodgers, there's absolutely a world where Murakami can play more as the season goes on, and naturally, after the 2025 season, that could pretty much be his hot corner to lose a job of. And even though he has not been proficient defensively, let's see how the Dodgers can get him right, along with being in the most winning organization in baseball that we have seen over the past couple years. Yes, I know it's a stereotype, but Murakami, I do believe, is going to land in LA. Getting on to number 7 here, we have Dylan Cease, one of, if not the most coveted free agent pitcher currently available in this year's market. And Cease has been an absolute workhorse, not only for the Padres, but in previous years there for the Chicago White Sox. And the big bugaboo with Cease this year has been the fact that he has an inflated ERA. well over 4, but all the expected numbers tell you that he faced some really poor luck this year in San Diego with the Padres, whether it was because of a lack of defense behind him at times or just because he simply had bad luck as is a workhorse, should be able to go deep into games for you. There are questions as to how good of a playoff performer he can be, and that is something to bear in mind, because why is a team that's not a contender going to sign him right now on a long-term deal? But when we think of teams are in the market for not only starting pitching, potential long-term contract starting pitching, but are looking to shake things up after having a failed 2025 season, look no further than the team that he grew up idolizing to a degree, I'm sure, as a Georgia native, and that is the Atlanta Braves. The Braves have been long connected to Dylan Cease over the past 3+ seasons. He was plenty in trade talks, rumored rather, with him, the Braves that being, and the White Sox during his time when he was still in Southside Chicago. And Cease, I think, would be more than a seamless fit there with Chris Sale, obviously Spencer Strider, and everyone else in company. Getting Spencer Schwellenbach back once he's fully healthy, among others. They obviously would like to add more to that rotation and to better themselves from what was a failed 2025. Adding one of the most coveted free agent arms in the market will most certainly help in that regard. Now just up to Alex Anthopoulos going out of his way to actually relay and throw a long-term contract at a pitcher, which is something that he has not been commonly known to do in years past. But I do think it's going to happen nonetheless. Number 6 now, we're going to go from the Braves to their NL East rival back to the New York Mets when talking about the Polar Bear and Pete Alonso. Alonso just had another fantastic season. He had just under 40 home runs, over 120 RBIs, the most clutch hitter for the Mets with runners in scoring position this year, and one of, if not their most consistent batter throughout the year, not named Juan Soto. Because of all these reasons and knowing he doesn't have a qualifying offer attached to him the way that he had an offseason ago, naturally Alonso is going to have a pretty robust market for teams looking for both first base and DH options. Because Scott Boras has made it known that yes, Alonso does have more of an appetite to actually play the DH position. And because of that reason, this is only going to open the floodgates for him in his market. So Josh Naylor, who gets a 5-year contract at $92+ million, Alonso is going to be looking for nothing short of 5 years, even with there being an age gap of 2.5 years between the two or so. I firmly believe that Alonso will get at least a 5-year contract. I do believe he's going to return to the New York Mets, barring changes, and here's why. As much as the Boston Red Sox and some other teams may be unbelievably attractive for Alonso, and I will not fault them at all if they do actually land him in reality in the end. But the reason why I believe Alonso is going to return to the Mets is not just because he's the home run king in the organization, the most home runs in Mets team franchise history. He's not just because he's been a homegrown talent his entire career since his breakout record-breaking rookie year in 2019, surpassing Aaron Judge for the most home runs ever by a rookie batter in Major League Baseball's history. But it's more so the fact of how much Alonso means to the organization currently, both on and off the field, as well as obviously goes without saying the fan base for people like myself. It's a really hard sell to the fans and for the organization moving forward, and they lose their homegrown talent, a man who has not really been a liability for them, but someone who has been a stronghold as one of their most lethal offensive weapons each and every year. And yes, David Stearns, Mets president, would love to upgrade defense at that first base position, but by allowing Alonso to get split time at first and DH will further open up the door for this Mets team to actually land a more viable, defensively minded first base DH option that they can platoon between the two should they wish to do so. So Pete Alonso, the Polar Bear, will have many suitors, but in the end, I think he's going to land back where he started in Flushing, Queens with the New York Mets. At number 5, we have Cody Bellinger, formerly of the New York Yankees, and I firmly do believe that this will be another year where the New York Yankees have a one-and-done year with a star outfielder. A year plus ago was Juan Soto, now it's going to be Cody Bellinger. And no, I'm not saying this just because of the Trent Grisham contract, accepting that $22+ million qualifying offer. I'm saying this more so because I do believe that not only is Bellinger going to have a nice, robust market, but I believe that there's a team out there that would love to bring him back, and he himself, I'm sure, will have a level of interest. Look no further than, yes, the LA Dodgers. Think about it. The Dodgers have been rolling the past number of years by pretty much platooning, less than ideal options in their corner outfield just to stay afloat. Whether it has been the platoons of guys like Michael Conforto and Kike Hernandez. I know Kike was great in the postseason in moments, more of a vibes guy, but we know throughout the regular season can be a liability there. We also have seen in years past when they've had Chris Taylor among others, they really haven't had too much consistency. Jason Hayward, I mean, the list goes on and on. I think now is the time for the Dodgers to invest on a fairly short to mid-level contract, high AAV, and a Cody Bellinger who loves LA, knows what it takes to win, and would of course be welcomed by everyone and then some in that clubhouse for a full circle reunion. So Bellinger, after seeing those Dodgers win back-to-back championships, he doesn't need to be swayed on going there. So I firmly do believe that not only will he return the Dodgers, but I could see a world where Bellinger actually turns down maybe a year or two more from a rival club, or even going back to the Yankees for the sake of going to LA, taking an inflated AAV with deferred payments more than likely to try to continue to win now with the best team in baseball. Makes more than enough sense, so that's why we're riding with it. Cody Bellinger, Belly's back in LA. Now getting on to number 4, we have here and one Bo Bichette. And Bo Bichette, everybody, who was tremendous in his walk here for the Toronto Blue Jays, batting over 300. Missed a chunk of playoffs and returned in the World Series like he didn't miss anything whatsoever. One of their best playoff performers when he was healthy and involved. Bo Bichette, the Toronto Blue Jays, they would all love to run it back after getting this close to surpassing those Dodgers and the World Series. Because of that reason, I expect the Blue Jays to do everything in their power to bring back their starting infielder and then come down to a long-term contract. Unlike Teoscar Hernandez, unlike Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and unlike Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette is not going anywhere. He will return the Toronto Blue Jays, barring changes. Now on to number 3, our top 3 rankings here. We have Schwarbombs, Kyle Schwarber, the man who's been hitting how many bombs? Over 50 home runs this year for the Philadelphia Phillies in his walk here. It's fitting that Schwarber had the best single season of his career and the year that he's now set to become a free agent. This tends to happen. Either guys will step up or they'll step down in pressure cookie years when they're going to be a free agent, and Schwarber most certainly stepped up for the Philadelphia Phillies. And listen, it wasn't for a lack of effort by Schwarber's end, but the Phillies have not been able to get over this hump with their core group. They aren't getting any younger. Schwarber is a DH profile through and through, not a guy that you want on the corner outfield. So what team makes most sense for a guy like Kyle Schwarber, especially with the ability to still win now, want to spend the big dollars on a multi-year contract for someone entering his age 34 season or so, isn't getting any younger? Well, let's look no further than the team that had him a couple years ago after he was traded from the Washington Nationals, and that is the Boston Red Sox. Listen, and the Red Sox aren't going to land Pete Alonso. They're going to land one big slugger this offseason, and Kyle Schwarber makes too much sense for this team because they have the youth movement right now, headlined by guys like Roman Anthony. Obviously, we'll see if a guy like Christian Campbell can really establish himself more next season, but they have a lot of really nice pieces, Marcelo Meyer, among others, all really cooking in Boston. So you want to have a nice balance of the veteran leadership as well as more of the youth movement. And knowing there's uncertainty with someone like Alex Bregman especially makes all the more reasons of sense to bring in someone like Schwarber who can hit tanks for days in Fenway. Loved his time in Boston. They loved him in Boston. Let's rekindle that relationship again, shall we? Now on to number 2 here, we have, speak of the devil himself, Alex Bregman. You know, Alex Bregman, the same man that only signed with the Boston Red Sox because last minute Boston said, let's give you $40 million AAV for a couple of years. That should be enough of a sell for at least one season. And Alex Bregman, who had a long holdout as a Scott Boris Klein an offseason ago, said, yes, thank you very much. I'll gladly take that. Boston loves Alex Bregman. Their fans love Alex Bregman. And I think Bregman loves Boston as well. The problem is, I'm not entirely sure if Craig Breslow has the appetite to invest long-term on Bregman, who's clearly looking for that long-term payday this time around, knowing a lockout is all but pretty much, I would say it's close to inevitable right now, a year from now, given the current status of the CBA and the lack of agreement. Because of that reason, you're going to see key clients from Scott Boras especially looking to ink these long-term contracts, as this might be the last time they ever have a chance to do so realistically. So Bregman, who said verbatim in an interview before actually starting his tenure with the Red Sox, but had signed with them already, he stated in an interview that, yeah, I thought it was going to be a Detroit Tiger until the Red Sox swooped in.
We thought we were going to be in Detroit the entire time, honestly. And then at the last second, Boston kind of came in.
So we're going to go back to those Detroit Tigers. Detroit could certainly learn from their woes last year, and that is to make sure that they add more oomph, not only to the lineup, but to have veteran leadership. Javi Baez did a great job commanding center field when they asked him to, and that really helped pave the way for what was an awesome first half plus for Detroit. As we got in the second half, they had a bit of things shaky. They, of course, had their division issues with the Guardians. Didn't matter as much in postseason play, but they still did not get as far as they otherwise wanted. Alex Bregman, a World Series champion, a winner, one of the best infielders in the game. You can play him at third, you can play him at second, get a little creative with him. Bregman to Detroit feels like something that just needs to happen, more so for the Tigers and their fans than anyone else. And here at number 1, everybody, we have Kyle Tucker, the man that is on the thumbnail along with Alonso. And again, the reason why I don't have Alonso with the Boston Red Sox is because I think he returns to the Mets. If he doesn't return to the Mets, I think he's absolutely destined for the Red Sox, which is why I gave them Schwarber if they're not getting Alonso. Now, in the case of Kyle Tucker, he was someone who, when we initially were preparing this video, I had the firm understanding and belief, oh, this man's a lock to be an LA Dodger. But given reporting that has come out since then, of course, these things are ever changing in the offseason, so who knows what will be coming out next week. But for now, The Dodgers do not appear to have as much of an appetite for a long-term contract for an outfielder. They're more inclined for short to mid-term. Should that be the case, I would suggest that the Dodgers maybe aren't the best fit for Kyle Tucker, unless Kyle wants to take more of a shorter-term contract to go on the best team in baseball. But, can we please at least have some balance in today's game? That'd be nice. If we're going to have at least some balance, and yes, it's kind of crazy to say this, but who would have thought that in the world now getting to 2026 that by having balance would mean having Kyle Tucker sign, yes, with the New York Yankees. The Yankees have been dying for Kyle Tucker. They heavily want him an offseason ago. They've been wanting him as that Juan Soto replacement, especially if they lose Bellinger. They have to make sure that they find not only the offense, but the balance of power in their lineup. And you need to make sure you have more outside of guys like Aaron Judge and the continuing to get older, Giancarlo Stanton. So because of that reason, bringing Kyle Tucker, give him the long-term contract he's looking for, reset the market a little bit, and now you have one of the best outfielders in baseball, a man who has punished you time and time again there that we saw in Houston. Now all coming full circle. This time will be a New York Yankee, hit absolute bombs to his short porch to right, provide more than fine defense for what they're going to be looking for in the corner. And Yankees fans, what does this mean? Yes, you're trading the Martian Jason Dominguez. Why? Because Buddy doesn't know defense if it smacked him across the face. He makes Juan Soto look like a platinum glove. You all can agree to that. That's how bad the defense was this past year. And if we're going to pick between Jason Dominguez and Kyle Tucker, I don't think there should be any rational fan saying, oh, I need Jason Dominguez on my team. Maximize the trade value with Jason while you still have it to a degree. Bring in Kyle Tucker, have Trent Grisham as your center fielder, and roll with one of the best outfields in baseball for 2026 and beyond. And before we get out of here, everybody, people who just missed my top 10, I have Framber Valdez, of course, there of formerly the Houston Astros. Many people believe he's going to go to the San Francisco Giants. I think he's going to land with the Toronto Blue Jays. Kazuma Okamoto, someone who I think honestly is better right now than Munetaka Murakami, because Murakami can't hit a fastball to save his life. Okamoto, every team and their mother would love him. But listen, Cody Bellinger isn't returning. We know Goldie isn't returning. If those guys are not returning to the Bronx and the Yankees, they need to add a first baseman. They need to add a guy who can help out at first, help out at third, maybe a little bit if they don't love McMahon's upside there. Maybe they want someone that can be versatile for them. I know he might not seem like the best team fit right now, but I do think Okamoto is going to go to a big market. And the New York Yankees, it's about time that they land a Japanese talent that they really haven't been able to do so much since they landed Masahiro Tanaka all those years ago. But folks, that's going to do it for our top 10 ranking and then some. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll see you all next time here on WardyMLB, presented by Stark Raving Sports.